Alex.
This is Chocnut-san.
And we're in a certain cafe in Makati in the long rainy day. And today we'll be talking about our comics haul that we got from Indieket and the experiences that we had so far. So let's move on to the comics.
We're going to start with Ardie Aquino's newest release, Bakit Kakaiba si Nanay at Ibang Kwento ng Talulikas.
Bakit Ardie ang haba?
So it's a horror anthology with 3 short stories. Ardie combines his cute art style with a dark and malashake and rattle and roll stories with feel-good twists at the end that would make you parang more on smile rather than scared, but in a good way. Yung print format niya stands out from the rest of all the other comics with its lengthwise cut. Though I'm not sure pa kung ano yung parang aim nung layout na yun. Since kasi diba yung previous niya, yung Bakit, yung andito lang ako, yung may purpose yung parang see-through paper niya. So with this one, di ko lang sure if ano yun. So, yun. Yung favorite ko yung first story, Bakit Kakaiba si Nanay, because it's a usual Filipino setup with a different take on aswang. I'm not sure kung aswang yun, pero yun, aswang. And it revolves in a very specific setting and time, but still works out well and is written and told concisely.
Next comic is In His Universe by Chocnut-san. In His Universe Part 2 to be exact. So it's a continuation of Part 1 and it revolves around Joanne and she realizes that there are different realms in which that have different contexts with her beloved Noel. So that she realizes that there are different time dimensions where there are different scenarios where she would end up with her beloved. And with the art, oh my god. Let's start with the art. Chocnut, Jermaine is really good in paneling with this one. Very experimental and she didn't really repeat any paneling in her pages, which I really appreciate and it really flows with the story. And I really like how she plays with symbolisms, especially with the butterfly, which to me signifies the continuation of time and how there are different changes in our lives that we cannot control, especially maybe in love, that you cannot control but you have to accept. And despite these changes, you can actually learn from them, especially with the different changes in time or variety of being with Noel, between Joanne and Noel. You can still see the affection of Joanne to the main guy. That's why I'm really looking forward to her 3rd chapter because I really want to see how she'll wrap it all up.
So for my next comics, it's Carnaval by Mitzee. So it's a story about a boy and a cat who exchange their eyes in hopes to experience each other's lives differently. So Mitzee's paneling techniques in here feels like you're watching a movie. Hindi siya complicated, but enough to make your eyes continue moving and lets you do enough exploration in the pages with proper rest. Her art style fits the whimsical setting, a combination of a children's book art style, mala fairy tale nga siya in a way, but with the appeal of the black and white comics with her evident brush strokes and attention to details. It's a fairy tale that would fit both the taste of young readers and the adult in their different views of how to pursue the real meaning of happiness.
I think she released that comic na previous comic yata.
Hindi. Parang revamp niya yung art style. So, ang nakuha ko lang yung current niya. So, hindi ko nakita yung comparison from her previous Carnival na comics. But still, nasipag ng mga nagre-redraw ng comics nila. Parang, syempre, kasi diba, parang pag matagal mo nakita yung comics mo, from yung una mong ginawa siya, tapos pag chinek mo ulit siya, ang dami mong gustong baguhin. Pero parang, diba, kung ikaw, may mga artist na gusto nila makita kasi yung
Updated
growth mo,
style,
yung
yeah.
growth mo as an artist. Pero meron naman yung ba, syempre,
I'm done with this.
parang yun na yun. Ito na yun.
Next in my haul is The Merchant of Ultrano, which is written by J. Philip Ignacio, illustrated by Alex Nino, and the text is done by the calligraphy of Lay Reyes. It covers the story of this wine seller, and he ends up meeting a stranger in his shop that offers him the best type of wine. But there's a catch, there's a sort of condition. And there's a secret that is behind why the stranger is offering this wine seller the best sort of wine. So you really have to read the story so you can really get that oomph factor at the end of why does he have to pay something in return. But I think it revolves around equivalent exchange. People will always get what they deserve when they get something. And for the art style, I really like how Alex Nino is very well known for his detailed, ornate art. So there's no negatives on that.
So for our next comics, it's Void Beast by Francis Martinino, Matthew Jones, and Stephanie Cocklish. Sana tama yung pagkakabanggit ko. So, the story is set where humans, zombies, and werewolves fight for survival, and it focuses on the werewolf shifter protagonist, TJ. Story-wise, I think the writers were trying to tell a lot of information in this one chapter. Like, it was already trying to conclude some parts and not really giving the reader enough background to understand what was happening and why the characters were doing what they were doing. Yun. Tapos, art-wise, just, yun naman, jam-packed siya with action scenes and notable characters. Something Francis has been really good at even on his other client works. So, yun nga, this is an international client and Francis was asked to illustrate it.
No negatives on the art at all. Is this the example of the difference between the writer and the illustrator being the same person? I think if you're the writer and the illustrator of your own story, I think there would be a proper translation to it in your comics.
Yeah.
So this is like the opposite of that, because the writer and the illustrator are different people. So translation of the hope, the purpose of the characters, to me, it didn't really mesh well.
So for my next haul, it's Lanzenreiter by Kero or Ardie. This story is about how the world is currently under the hands of these Bakunawas because of the sudden disappearance of the Lanzenreiters, the only warriors who could fight them. In the first chapter, we were introduced to Thur and his adventure. As a shonen comic, this was obviously written with care and done with so much attention to details, pulling you right into the world of Bakunawas and Lanzenreiters and Thur, and enough for you to be curious and tread along. Not to mention the amazing art of Ardie, his attention to details in his clean and crisp line art. For chapter 2, Ardie kept the pace he had from the first chapter, slowly and carefully telling the story and revealing the characters' personalities and their differences. The story slowly unfolds, but definitely in a good way, and definitely something you would want to follow if you're into shonen comics.
Next one in my haul is Super Proxies by Sampay. It revolves around a group of young adults that actually work as proxies. They take on any sort of tasks. And it's a very light-hearted story, but the paneling is just masterful. And it's really simple, which is why I like it. And the facial expressions for each page, man, it's so funny.
Sobrang specialty niya yung facial expressions.
Even, I really like how he colors his covers.
Sobrang vibrant ng coloring.
Ang clean,
Oo.
ang linis. And this, in terms of story, it's very light-hearted, not as heavy as the previous ones we've read, but it has its own charm.
Yes.
Right? Medyo parang it reminds me of Bakuman.
Yeah,
a bit.
yun nga.
Bakuman na may K-on vibe. That makes sense.
So, yun. Alex got the first 2 chapters, which I've already read before. Pero, Sampay's newest release, yung chapter 3, nung Indieket. So, I got that one as well. So, for the chapter 3, we follow the story of Brian, who hires the super proxies, specifically Mika, to pretend to be his girlfriend in front of his family. So, medyo spoilers na kasi yung dulo, so hindi ko na sasabihin. But aside from, yun nga, nabanggit ni Alex na yung crisp and clean art style, his writing specifically in this chapter was something else. Mas nag-improve talaga. Like, there is care and attention to how you properly convey the feelings and emotions of each character while also giving them the proper individual voices. Kasi dyan medyo comedy style pa din. Pero dun sa chapter 3 kasi nag-shift siya into a more melodramatic na kwento. Although, yun nga, may jabs pa rin of humor, but yung kwento kasi medyo sensitive in a way. So, nagawa niya ng maayos without like going through the cliche road. So, yun. The story tugs to your heart in the right way and then makes you smile at the end and makes you want to wait what the super proxies will be up to next. So, yeah. That's it for Super Proxies by Sam. Okay, so for the next review, this is Emergency Guardian series by Pelep Gozum and written by Herold Cabral. So this is a shonen comic that revolves around the story of Agos and his journey as an emergency guardian after the betrayal of his older brother Alon to his family. If you're looking for a comic that combines the adventure-filled meet new friends setup, then this one's definitely for you. Pelep's distinct art style really gives off a strong sense of characterizations, while the colorful writing of Herold will make you want to read more and more. His dialogues and characters has their own voice. You could actually hear them and make it up yourself. The pacing sets the story that this will be slow, but in a good way, as all adventure comics should be, focusing on every decision and encounter the main character goes to. The first chapter already hooked me to go ahead and buy the rest of the chapters, and I can tell you that following the story is so worth it. Yung story is filled with quirky characters, amazing fight scenes, very distinct art style, and yung concept ng powers nila. Although we know shonen follows this, may mga lagis lang may mga kakaibang powers, but this one also took it na different and kind of unique way na medyo Filipino, nag-veer pa rin towards the Filipino style. Tapos, I said before in our very first video, kasi yung first pa namin na hindi ako masyado nagbabasa ng shonen na sa local comics, pero ngayon, gets ko na yung charm niya and kitang-kita mo dun sa mga creators, yung alam mo yung personality nila and yung influence nila with probably shonen manga as well. And nakakatuwang makita kung paano nila na-interpret in their own stories. Yung aim nila to create their own world na sana mahook yung mga readers, yung alam mo na, gawan sila ng fan art or i-follow talaga yung series. So, yeah. I mean, lagi di ba may mga nasasabi na puro shonen or very male-dominated yung comics na yun. Pero I think, yun nga, with the very strong influence din kasi ng shonen manga, so it's not something that we could just...
And kasi, in shonen, aim niya is little boys. And that's what most of us grew up on. So, tendency, shonen talaga yung very influenced din natin. But we've grown out of it. And we're coming back. Ngayon, namamakyaw na si Jermaine ng
mga shonen. Basta kakaiba yung hook and yun nga, ang interesting makita kung yung iba-ibang version ng mga artist na ito yung shonen nila, ganito yung world na gusto nila i-build. So, yeah. Definitely go follow. Not just yung kay Pelep, but the other shonen series na nakita nyo in the local comics community. Kasi yun yung parang ang gandang pag-aralan na may kita mo talaga yung distinction of each. And only comment ko lang actually is, yung problema ko is the cover. Sobrang hindi ko ma-distinguish ano dun yung 1, 2,
And 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, 5 na ata yun. Tapos, yung meron lang atang nakalagay na chapter is 3. So, may isang part doon na halos matatapos ng isang comics. Hindi pala siya yung kasunod. Like, hindi ko rin hindi ko napansin na yun pala, hindi pala siya yung kasunod ng comics na binabasa ko. So, yun lang. Sana either may kita-kita yung number or if hindi ko alam kung naglagay ba siya ng clue within the cover art. Pero siguro kahit sa inside page, ma-distinguish pa din na ito yung continuation or this is the part 1 or 2. But overall, still a good job.
Next on my haul is Norman Zero by Fluffi, and it has 2 chapters. It involves the story of Norman Lewis and his android partner Esther, and they're set in this sort of zombie-infested Manila, and they have to figure out the solution to this virus by going up against the Lewis Labs. And I really like how he pays homage to the art influences that he had, which is kind of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and the simplistic art style. And maybe my only comment is that there was a the effort to include Manila themes, like putting them in UST, in Espanya, and all that. But it didn't really become prevalent in the story. Like, it's trying to involve Manila Filipino themes, but it's not seamless to That's our thoughts on Norman Zero.
Yes. So, my next one is Pugot by Tamasuko, Zuki, and EejHime. Oh my God. Tama ba yung mga pagkakabanggit ko? Okay, so this comic won the Comikaze Comic Contest along with another comics winner, which is the Poltergeist. So for Pugot, the story revolves around this urban legend / parang online hoax na if you see someone headless or pugot, they're going to die. So, this is a horror comic for horror fans. Paneling was done correctly. Jump scares were done with the right page flip. And the art fits the story and atmosphere very well. There was proper intro of the background story, which is yung hoax, and how it revolves around the protagonist. And when he witnesses the hoax on his own. And even as a one-shot, the story was told very well, concisely, and would make you want for more. So, there's not much horror story in the local comics na parang as many as the shonen style or approach. Pero, so I try to take as many as I can or read as many as I can. So, definitely check this out if you're a fan of horror or psychological thrillers, and sana mas marami pang mag-support and gumawa rin ng horror comics. Kasi, yun nga, I think ako before may notion ako na pag horror kailangan sobrang nakakatakot or baka
Junji.
Oo, o kaya isipin nila ang cheap nung pagkaka-deliver. Pero I think it's very challenging sa totoo lang yung paggawa ng magandang horror story kasi 'di ba parang number one mo yung kailangan mag-build ka ng atmosphere na yung reader mo mafe-feel nila na okay, horror story itong binabasa ko, hindi lang siya basta may nagkukwento tapos may picture. Kumbaga kahit siya at least one shiver or one feeling lang
jump scare.
Wait, okay, this is a horror story. So, yeah. Check out Pugot by Tamasuko, Zuki, and EejHime under Comikaze Early Camo Publishing pala. Yeah.
Check it out. Next, and the last actually of my haul is my most favorite out of my Indieket Haul and the most expensive. But it's a really good it's the really good comic made out in risograph print. It's called Prayer for Good Health by Nina Martinez. And it involves her contemplations on her childhood, how her parents are actually medicine or are in the medicine field, they're doctors. And she actually grows up in a Catholic school. So it's more of contemplation and citing differences between religion and medicine, or morals relating to that. And I like how simple and how she's concise with her wordings as well. But when you check out her pages or the pages of this comic, it really makes you think growing up, like compare your experience being in a Catholic influenced country like the Philippines. Like you compare science with influences of Catholicism, and what sets the boundaries with, like, for example, as cited in the comic, like is assisted suicide good or bad or something like that.
Okay.
And just really, I really recommend this one if you're interested in that type of contemplative comic storytelling. So check out Prayer for Good Health by Nina Martinez.
So my last and my favorite out of this haul is the Con Artist in the End by Losermangaka and Mikey Jimenez. So it follows the character from their previous title, Con Artists, and instead of comic strips that relates to us comic con goers, this is a more personal and centers around Patty, who is an art director and also an indie comic artist. The story is highly relatable, especially to those people who are trying to balance their day jobs and their comics life, ika nga. The cute art style of Losermangaka contrasts the somehow up and down emotions of Mikey's writings. There are parts that seem to speak too close to you if you're going through the same experience like Patty, but it does not come off as pilit or preachy. Dahil yun nga yung specialty ni Mikey when writing. Like, he can write in a way na parang magkausap lang kayo. Yung binabasa mo, very natural, and as if ikaw mismo naririnig mo yung sarili mong sinasabi yun. So it doesn't come off like advice or very dramatic. Parang may pinapakinggan ka lang na nagkukwento na friend mo or co-comic artist na what he or she is going through. It comes in a bittersweet conclusion that will make you question why are you doing comics in the first place and if it is really worth it. So I think, yeah, this one is my favorite kasi yun nga, aside from I can relate to it, I think it's a good parang spotlight into the comics artist life na hindi romanticized na may sarili akong studio, tapos comics ko ginagawa ko lang on my own pace. Parang it's the goal kasi, di ba? Pero when you see the real struggle of, yun nga, kahit yung mga freelancers, like how they want to work on their own story rather than the client works, di ba? Parang gusto rin naman nila yung story nila. So, yeah, I think it's a very highly suggested to co-comic artists who are going through the same thing, and then kahit yung mga readers to have a glimpse of what goes behind the table during the conventions and the artists.
And the struggle of like, bakit ang mahal lang comics mo? May drawing can do that. Yung mga ganun types of fun.
Alam ko, madali lang ginagawa namin. Drawing lang kami everyday. So, yeah, that concludes our comics review from our Indieket Haul. And please wait for our part 2 of this video, which will be talking about our comic experience and many others. Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.